What if I told you that every decision that you make, whatever you say, what you buy, even what you believe, is part of a game? It's not a game of cards or dice. It is a game of strategy, where your choices depend on mine, and mine depends on yours. That's game theory. And when you understand this little basic concept, you realize that it runs everything: politics, economics, culture, even biology. We start with decision theory, which is how we make choices when we don't know what's coming next. I mean, obviously no one can see the future. So we need to make decisions and make guesses. We manage uncertainty and we make the best call that we can under the circumstances. But the moment that you add another person into the mix of this decision making, then everything changes. Now, my outcome depends on your decisions, and yours depends on mine. That's the moment decision theory becomes game theory, which is the study of strategy when multiple players are involved. And once you see the world through that lens, it's impossible to unsee it. You see game theory everywhere. In politics, yeah, obviously that's a constant game. Parties and voters are invested into each other's moves, and at all costs they need to find out what's coming next. Economics is the same thing. Companies set prices and policies while watching competitors and customers react. How about psychology, you may ask? Well, trust, betrayal, cooperation, these are classic game theory dynamics. Our psychology, in fact, is what leads to the need for game theory. Surely not philosophy, right? Well, unfortunately, even moral codes are strategies. They're ways for people to survive together without chaos. Every belief system, while useful at the level of the individual, pretty quickly organizes to become someone's play and to shape the rules of the game in their own favor. How about biology? Well, that's everywhere. Species use strategies to compete for food, territory, and mates. Predators and prey evolve in response to each other's moves in a perpetual dance. And even bacteria decides at some fundamental level, even though it's unconscious, to cooperate or to cheat in order to survive in its environment. Evolution itself is one massive strategy game, and natural selection keeps score at every turn. Game theory isn't optional in the world we live in. It's built into the fabric of life. But here's a twist. Game theory doesn't just describe our choices, it limits them. In politics, for example, that limit has a name. It's called the Overton Window, which is a range of ideas that people will accept, and I've done a previous video on it. You can watch it on this channel. If you step too far outside of it, and you'll lose the audience. The same thing with culture. Norms, traditions, and rules, they're not random. They're part of the millions of repeated games that have played in history, and over time we've adjusted and have settled into these patterns that are produced by these games. And these patterns of stability, that's what we call culture. But culture doesn't just result from the game, it feeds back into it. Take honesty, for example. If lying works and no one punishes lying, well, lying then spreads. If society, however, punishes liars, then honesty becomes the safe bet. And you could say the same thing about psychopathy, for example. If psychopaths are not punished in a society, they increase in numbers and they become the norm. And then it turns into the law of the jungle. So it's interesting that the culture is both the product of the game and also the referee of it. Now bring John Nash to the picture here. You probably remember him from the movie A Beautiful Mind.
Nash Equilibrium.
Which is the point in a game where no one can improve their position, by changing their strategy, as long as everyone else stays the same as well. And here's when it gets interesting. Moderation works in the exact same way. It's not weak compromise, it's not political mush, but it is that point in the game where extremes collapse and stability emerges, because balance is really the only sustainable play in the long run in these games. But there's obviously a catch. Different groups that often play with different rules. For example, one side says liberty over all, another says equality above all. It's the same board, but different games. And that's why culture wars feel endless, because we're not just using different strategies in these games, we're actually playing different games. But history shows that, something will eventually emerge and societies find new equilibriums. Painfully, slowly, but they eventually get there. And what's once felt radical often becomes tomorrow's moderate middle. And that was the thesis of my video on Overton Window. So what's the takeaway? Well, game theory is the hidden architecture of the society. It shows us why moderation is just nice to have. It's often really the only outcome that actually works. It explains why extremes rise and then collapse under the weight of the game itself. Radical moderation, for example, is about seeking that balance. It's about recognizing it and guiding the society towards it instead of waiting for the conflict to drag us there by default. So next time you see a political fight or a cultural clash, or even a personal argument, you should ask yourself, what game is being played? What's the strategy here, right? And what is the balance point that lets us all keep playing together? Because game theory isn't just math. It is the operating system of human society. And understanding it might be really the first step towards developing a culture of true moderation. I'll see you guys in the next video.